across different businesses, right? But making sure you're clear on that and you're sharing that with your marketing team is step number one. Number two is building out that strategy that's going to help you hit that goal. So for, if it's that you want to book more sales calls, then, making sure that we're talking about that link to book more sales calls. What is the benefit of a sales call? How can we support you in your journey and deeply understand where you want to go on that sales call? All of these things are going to be important to incorporate into your content, and your strategy is going to be heavily based around that and the type of content we're going to be creating for that business.
Welcome to the Wealth and Wellness All Women Rock podcast, hosted by me, Tamara, the CEO and founder of All Women Rock Global. Join me on this journey as we explore topics, conversations, and interviews related to wealth and wellness. Let's get started. Hey girl, hey, welcome back to another episode of the Wealth and Wellness podcast by All Women Rock. Have you ever struggled with your Instagram trying to keep up with the algorithm, what time to post, how many hashtags to post, what hashtags to use? I have been there. If you can relate, you are going to love today's episode. On today, I had the great pleasure of being able to interview Emma Tessler. Emma Tessler is the founder and CEO of 95 Media, a digital marketing agency that builds results-driven marketing strategies for scaling brands. With 8 years of marketing experience under her belt, Emma helps brands connect with their ideal clients, build community, and convert audience members into paying customers through social media marketing. This was such a great episode. Not only was I interviewing her, I was also taking notes. Emma shares great strategies about social media, how to build your social media. We discussed building an email list. We both had similar stories on how we landed in the digital marketing space. I love her podcast name. Her podcast is Stop Scrolling and Start Scaling. We also discussed hiring someone on your team. It is so value packed. So let's take a listen. Hello, Emma, and thank you so much for joining us on the Wealth and Wellness podcast on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I know our listeners can't see, but she looks absolutely amazing on today. Her skin is glowing.
Thank you.
Let's start off by telling our listeners a little bit more about you and what it is that you do.
Yeah. So my name is Emma Tessler. I'm the founder of 95 Media. We are a digital marketing agency who builds results-driven strategies for scaling brands. And we really focus on building online presence as well as monetizing your audience, because there's a big difference between creating content, getting that post up, and actually seeing results from it. So the way that we support our clients is mainly through social media management, email marketing campaigns, and podcast production, because we really believe in a holistic marketing, strategy rather than just dedicating to one platform that really could go away at the end of the day at any point.
That's true. So you said podcast production. You guys focus on podcast production and all social media channels?
All social media and email marketing as well, because the big strategy for a lot of brands on social where, you want to build this audience, you want to get engagement, build community, but really you want to get them off that platform. So sending them to your podcast, to your email list, and your email list really is the list that you own. And that's ultimately where you want most people landing.
That is so true, because for those that don't know, I originally started back in 09 or 08, I started blogging, and from blogging, I started doing events. And then I had a colleague that wanted me to do digital marketing for his business. I had never done it for nobody else before. And from there, kind of scaled to referrals. And then before I knew it, I had like a full client list. So I started out in digital marketing. I left because it was the expectations of people.
Yep.
Yeah. But yes, I love that, being able to teach people how to scale from just having your social media list, but also because what was it, a year or so ago, Instagram, or I think it was Facebook, shut completely down. Like, what do you do during that time?
Right. Yeah. The crashes that
Hmm.
happen, even yesterday, I mean, we're recording this in June, but yesterday, all analytics were down on Instagram. So you never know when,
Yeah.
little things are going to happen and things go away. And I know a lot of people who have built really massive audiences on Instagram and something happens to their account. And then you have to sit there and say, well, okay, I'm
Hmm.
not going to let this happen again. I'm going to make sure that I
Right.
diversify and I'm getting leads and I'm building my audience on more than one platform.
Yeah. So true. Do you guys help with ads as well?
We do, yeah. So there's kind of two forms of ads. So you can either create your own, ad from scratch, or you can boost content. And a lot of people look at boosted content as not as strategic, but we've actually seen really fantastic results from putting money behind organic content and essentially boosting it. And I think that the reason a lot of people don't see results from boosting content normally is because organic content is not always as strategic as it should be. And so for us, when we work with clients, we are so strategic in all of the organic content that we create that once we see a post start to do really well, we know it's hitting with their audience and people are really connecting with it. Then we start putting money behind that to just amplify the results that they're already seeing. So that's how we approach ads on Meta for Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah. I think it also kind of builds like your like trust factor if you just use a post that you may be speaking about something about your expertise or something random when you do put an ad behind that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of different types of content that you should consider boosting, and I would say normally it is that more authority building content, the type of post that tells someone you truly know what you're doing, but also maybe has a bit of storytelling in it that is relatable. But I would say that the one type of post that we probably don't want to boost or put ads behind is educational, because educational content is really just that, it's just teaching. And while it does tell people that you know the answer to this question, it's not necessarily the type of content that brings people over that hump in the no like trust factor. And so we really want to think about what is that post that is going to help people know that you're the right person for solving that problem that they have, and then putting money behind it, amplifying that message and getting it in front of the right people.
I like that. I never thought about just not putting an ad behind educational content, but when you explain it, it makes more sense. I shared my story of how I accidentally got in the digital marketing space. What's your story of getting started there?
It's actually very similar, because I didn't even know this was a path. I mean, honestly, none of us knew this was going to be our future and that social media was an option. I mean, I went to college in 2013, and that was, I would still say, beginning days of Instagram. It was, we were all still posting sunset photos with the Nashville filter on it and calling it a day. And I went to college for interior design. I thought that that was the path I wanted to be on for, ever. I was so passionate about it. I absolutely loved it. But the school that I went to, the Fashion Institute of Technology, really encouraged internships from like day one. So after my freshman year, I was interning for a professor actually, and she wanted to expand her business into a new line of, she wanted to add coaching onto her, design services. And it was like a summer of 2013 or 2014. And she just kind of handed me her phone. I was like 19 and I was the youngest person. I really want to figure out Instagram, like just take it and run with it, figure out what you can do. And it was a totally new world to me. It was so interesting to me at the time that this was an opportunity for businesses to reach more customers, and yet so many people weren't doing that. And
Hmm.
it was not taken seriously by a lot of brands, even big brands today who absolutely monetize and capitalize on social media. We're not on social in 2013, 2014, maybe even 2015. And I just saw a world of opportunity. And it was just crazy to me at that time that people weren't taking this seriously. And so I did that for her that summer. We continued on. And then it was around 2016, 2017 that I started taking on some clients on the side as I was finishing up college. And then as I entered the real world of getting a full-time job in the interior design world, I just kind of quickly realized that it wasn't necessarily the path I wanted to be on for the long term, and that I was a lot more excited by the world of digital marketing. So I, built our client roster. I built our brand up to a point where I could take it and run with it. And in the middle of the pandemic in 2020, I quit my job in corporate and have been doing this full time ever since.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love to hear that. That was kind of my story. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I was just blogging because I saw
Yeah.
other people were kind of doing, and just that's amazing that you were able to do that. Was that hard being able to like transition from having a full-time steady job in interior design to just be like, you know what, I'm gonna do this on my own? Or was it easy due to the pandemic?
Definitely not easy. It was terrifying. I'm such a planner that I had been playing with this idea for probably 3 years before I did it. But I knew that I wanted the company to be in a place financially where I could start paying myself when I quit. Because at that point, before 2020, I took very little, like just very little of our revenue. And for myself, I was reinvesting it into building our team, into resources for us to grow as a company. And obviously, I needed some type of income after, not having a steady quote unquote income, which wasn't steady during 2020 to begin with. And so
True.
it was a very weird year because in the beginning of 2020, when obviously everything hit the fan, we lost a lot of clients because brands were just not making revenue. They were like, listen, I don't have any money coming in. I can't pay you. And which is, of course, understandable. But by summer of 2020, everyone was starting to realize, like, crap, this is my only option. I have to get our social media presence in line. And so at that point, I realized, okay, like this is the year I want to do it. And I basically set a financial goal for us to be hitting month over month that would make me feel comfortable in leaving. And so once we hit that, I think for about 4 months before I quit, I was like, okay, like we can do this. I know we can do it. I just need to take the leap and trust that this is all going to work out. It was absolutely the scariest thing I ever did. When I quit and I like talked to my boss about quitting, I had this like, I'm going to do this. I'm like, this is all going to be fine. And I was really sad about leaving the company. I really liked the company. And then I immediately like ran to the bathroom and started sobbing. I was like, that's the worst decision I ever made in my life. Like, I can't believe I just quit my job in the pandemic. Like, it's like, I'm a literal crazy person. But of course it all worked out. And it was actually the best thing I ever did.
I am like that in so many ways. I'll make the biggest decision and just be like, I'm finna go for it, and be like, crap, what did I just do?
Right. That
I am
regret
the same.
immediately hits right after it.
Did you have a team, or was it just you at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had a team because working full time, I couldn't do certain things that timeline wise had to happen throughout the day in the social media world. But I think at that time we had 2 or 3 people on our team. And today we have 8. So we have basically tripled our team size since almost only 2.5 years ago, really.
I love it. I saw a lot of women, all women rock. So I'm a little biased.
Yes.
What would you say to someone that is thinking about adding someone to their team, or what lesson can you share with them that's just like, it's a lot for me right now. I want to add someone, but I'm just kind of unsure if I'm ready to make that big step.
Yeah. I mean, I love that question because every entrepreneur is going to get there at one point or another. And even people who are like, no, I want to just like keep the team small and like be me and one other person. Like there's always going to be a point you hit where you realize that in order to scale the company, you're going to need more hands on deck. So my biggest recommendation when hiring a team is to have systems in place before you make the hire, because the biggest problems occur when someone comes into your company and they aren't clear on how to do their job and what are the KPIs that determine success in their role. And a lot of people I've talked to, especially solopreneurs, want to bring someone in to build those systems for them. And I think there's a level of collaboration that can absolutely happen. But with that being said, as the leader, as the CEO, I do believe in small companies, especially, it's important that you understand how you want that role to function. And if you are not able to build out that system, which is totally fine, understandable, you're hiring someone to fill a gap, then work with someone before hiring that person who can support you in building out those systems. Maybe it's just having like a, a consultation call with someone who does that and can support you in, okay, these are the steps, these are the processes you want to make sure you're hitting, because that's going to allow that hire to be a lot more successful in their position.
You are definitely right. Because I remember when I first started, when I was doing digital marketing, it became a lot for me. And I was looking for interns, and I immediately was like, okay, I didn't have any plan set out for them or anything that they should do. I'm like, okay, you focus on Instagram for this client, you focus on that. And it was just like, I didn't have anything together. So it felt like I was all over the place, which I was. So I like that, totally, just having that in place for somebody you can lean on to kind of help you during that time.
Yeah, because also what it does is it creates consistency across your
Right.
company, right? Because after you make that one hire, you might realize, okay, I need to make another hire. I need to duplicate that role. And then you are back in that position of what you're talking about, just flailing and feeling like, oh, I don't really know what to do. So what I've actually done for our team when we hire internally, I have a team dashboard, which I created because every time I onboarded a new hire, I was like, I'm saying the same thing over and over again. This is killing me. Like, I can't do it. And it was taking so much time out of my schedule. So our dashboard today is basically, I mean, it's hosted on Kajabi. It's essentially an online course. So every new hire who comes in has to go through this entire course. It trains them on not only client delivery, but also what are our internal processes, what are their KPIs, any trainings that we have for them to do X, Y, and Z in their role. And it's something that's always in flux and we consistently add to it. I'm always updating it. And that has been such a game changer for our company and the success of our team and the turnover in our team too. Because before I had that, we saw a lot of turnover. So people would stay with us for 6 months or a year. Today we just celebrated the 2-year anniversary of someone on our team. So it shows that, it allows people to understand what I expect from them and also allows them to do a better job, which just leads to more success of the company.
Mm-hmm. I love that you're very strategic and you great at planning. I'm all over the place. Just hearing your story and how you have that laid out. I didn't have any of that. Maybe I could have stayed with it if I did, but that's not, it was just something I just kind of wasn't interested in anymore.
Yeah.
But I also saw on your website, I love your company values that list a proactive approach, innovative mindset, results focus, integrity, transparency, and empowering others. 2 that stuck, as I stated, I'm from the background, so I know how it can be with clients. 2 of them that stuck out the most for me was was the innovative mindset, because sometimes business owners, they just kind of, I guess you could say, laser focused on or just kind of stuck in one way of doing things. And the other one was transparency, because a lot of people are so hesitant to change. And then also they think that they start a new social media channel with like 5 or 10 followers and they want 2 million in 3 days. And it's like, that is just so impossible. So I like that you already have that foundation laid out of what your company values are.
Yeah, those two are so important for us because transparency in particular, I believe it's really important to be transparent about the work that we do for clients because we've all had less than ideal experiences with service providers. And I think that especially in the online space, because it's developed and is entirely new over the past 5 years, I would say, there were very little standards for a while. And even today, there's embarrassingly low standards for our space. And so for us, a big important piece is that our clients are always aware of what's happening in their accounts. Nothing is a secret. They're completely seeing, not only the content, but also the analytics. So one of the ways we stay really transparent is sending weekly analytics reports to clients, which a lot of other agencies send monthly or quarterly. And weekly is really important for us so that clients can see how is that content that they're creating for me actually performing week over week. And it also allows us to say, okay, I know we built out this strategy for the coming month, but actually we're seeing week 1 it's flopping. Like this is not working for your audience. So we're not going to wait a full month to adjust the strategy. We have this data and we're going to adjust accordingly. And we're going to tell you as the client what is changing based on our last conversation because of the information coming in. So that transparency is really important. And then the innovative approach is more, I would say, tied. Well, it's kind of twofold, right? So one piece of it is innovatively growing and scaling us as a company at 95 Media, always thinking about our next move. What is a new service we might want to add? For example, this year we added podcast production because we see that future of podcasting is exponentially growing. We've seen our podcast change the course of our business, and that, podcast production, again, the standards, unfortunately, are very low in the management world for podcasting, and we feel confident in changing that narrative. So that's one way we're innovative as a company, but then we're also innovative in our strategy for clients, because one example would be this past month, it's the beginning of June right now. We just wrapped our May monthly reports, and one client, their content reach was really dropping for a few months on Instagram in particular. And so we saw this downward decline. It's been a conversation between their account manager and myself for a few months now. And in May, the account manager who manages the day-to-day of the client's work came to me and we built out the strategy. She had this whole new idea of how she wanted to approach their content. And it went from 16,000 content reach in May to 98,000, or in April to 98,000 content reach in May. So that, just having the conversation, being on top of the content and being innovative in the strategy allowed them to go from 16,000 to 98,000 in 30 days, which is absolutely insane. And that is not normal by any means, but it's possible when you have a team who is strategic and innovative and really cares about the results of our clients. So yes, I mean, those values, it's so funny you say them because I'm like, wow, I really haven't gone through that list in a while, but they are so ingrained in everything that we do that it almost feels like we don't even need to say them repetitively with our team, because it's just such a core value in everyone that I bring onto the team, that those are elements of their personality and they're elements of who they are professionally as well.
I love it. I've seen so many errors in my digital marketing journey listening to you. I absolutely love it. One thing that I saw on the website as well was you guys have the 95 media method. Can you share that with us?
Yes, I love the 95 media method. So this is the process that we follow for all of our clients in essentially everything that we do. It's really, I built it for our social media marketing, but it has been applicable for email campaigns, for podcasting, even for strategy intensives, which I personally offer, which are basically just like one-off calls. Every bit of how we approach marketing is rooted in the 95 media method. So this is a 4-part process that we go through. The first step being goals. So to have a successful marketing plan, you have to understand where you want to go. So having a deep understanding of, okay, what are my goals at the end of the day? And that might sound weird because you might be like, well, everyone's goal is just sales, which yeah, like that is most people's goals. But sometimes sales are related to, I want to book more sales calls. Okay, so then that's the metric we're going to be tracking. Or I want to book more in-person trainings or conferences. And so that's going to be the metric that we're tracking and really working towards strategically. So the goal is going to change across different businesses, right? But making sure you're clear on that and you're sharing that with your marketing team is step number 1. Number 2 is building out that strategy that's going to help you hit that goal. So for, if it's that you want to book more sales calls, then, making sure that we're talking about that link to book more sales calls. What is the benefit of a sales call? How can we support you in your journey and deeply understand where you want to go on that sales call? All of these things are going to be important to incorporate into your content, and your strategy is going to be heavily based around that and the type of content we're going to be creating for that business. Number 3, once we're clear on where do you want to go, how are we going to help you get there, we now need to execute. So execution in step number 3 is when we're putting that content out into the world, we're getting it live, and we are now engaging with your audience as well and getting feedback on that content. So execution is obviously, it kind of starts and it doesn't stop. And then data is step number 4. So as you execute, looking at that data consistently tells you what's working and what isn't. And data is, I mentioned our weekly analytics reports. That's one way that we look at the data really consistently, and we transparently share that with our clients. Because if you're not looking at the data, you are not really clear on what parts of your strategy are working, and you're not clear on, am I even hitting my goal? Because that data is going to help you. So all 4 of these steps are really interconnected, and it's important that it's not just a one and done. You are always going back. It's kind of the initial process you go through 1 through 4, and then you are going back and going forward. And it's all, kind of a cyclical process, but that is at the core of everything that we do at 95 Media.
So amazing. Do you guys work with like only online business owners, or is brick and mortar included as well?
We do a lot of brick and mortar. I would say our clientele right now is about 50-50. So because of my background in interior design, we have a lot of clients in the home space, a lot of home products, and like tile companies. So, decor as well. Or materials, I guess that would fall under. So we do work with brick and mortar. We work with online businesses. But I would say the bigger differentiator would be product versus service, because that really changes your strategy significantly. Are you looking for direct sales in app, or are you looking to, for example, book a sales call or have people register for a webinar or something along those lines? So that really differentiates our strategy a lot between product and service. But we work with clients in so many different industries. And at the end of the day, it's the strategies we put in place that actually help them see success.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Is it only local clients you work with, or is it all over?
Yeah, I mean, definitely not local. It's funny because I went into this full time during the pandemic. Local was never my goal. I was like, whoever can come in will serve the entire country. We really do focus on the US specifically, because once you start getting out of countries, there's problems with different features in different countries on the apps, and then the VPN, like there's all different problems there. So we do stick with just US based companies. I think we've worked with like 1 or 2 in Canada, which hasn't been a problem, but it's really interesting because now I recently moved to Dallas about a year and a half ago. And so now we are actually building up our local presence here in Dallas, but we have the ability to work with brands across the country. Our team is based across the country. Our team is fully remote too. So it's really great actually when we get clients who are near our own team members and they can go see them. So it's nice to have that in-person connection, but we definitely work with clients fully remotely throughout the entire country.
So like for those that how you have videos, do the clients have to like record videos, or how does that work with you guys?
That's a great question. So right now we provide really detailed instructions to clients on how to record that video. But again, this is one of those differentiators between product versus service, because with a service-based brand, oftentimes the founder or, 1 or 2 people on your team are the face of the brand and they have to be in the video. So in that case, we will essentially do all of the legwork. We'll say, okay, this is the audio we want to use. Here's what we want you to do in the video. Go ahead and record that. Send us the raw file. We will do all of the editing of the video, add the text, write the caption, all of the things. But you do need to record that original file because we can't do that for you. Yeah. On the flip side, for product, oftentimes our clients will send our team product and we can record that content in-house, or we work with them to build out their influencer program so that they can start tapping into influencer marketing again, or they can start getting more UGC. And we've seen that brands that we work with begin receiving a lot more UGC, which is user generated content from their consumers after they begin working with us, because their consumers see that there's opportunity to be reposted on their page and that they're also more active. So one of our clients was receiving maybe 1 UGC post every month or so. And now we've been with them for just over 2 years, and they are now receiving, I think it's like 12 a week. So that's their average. And it really goes back to their audience seeing that they're consistent, seeing that there's an opportunity, and wanting to be involved with that brand.
That's amazing. I love that. And also being able to have the influencer program too. What would you say to someone? Because I always mention about our negative Nathans, our negative Nancys. What would you say to someone that says, the Instagram algorithm just doesn't work in my favor and I don't have thousands of dollars for ads?
Well, you definitely don't need thousands of dollars in ads. We mainly work organically with a lot of our clients. So that means no paid ads. If you are not seeing results from the content that you're currently producing, it's probably due to one of a few issues. First one being there's no strategy behind your content. You are posting when you feel like it. You're not batching your content. You're inconsistent and you're kind of just posting things that feel good to you that's easy to create. So that happens a lot of the times. That's where a lot of our clients land before working with us. We've seen it time and time again. And the problem with that is that people don't really know what to expect from you. They don't know what your expertise is because you talk about all these random different topics and it's not consistent. And that consistency tells the algorithm that your content is not important and people are not engaging with it. So that's going to get you docked on the algorithm. And that could be one of the reasons why, quote unquote, the algorithm hates you. Second would be engagement. So this is a big problem that I see from a lot of brands is that they'll post, but then they post and ghost is what I call it. So you post and then you do absolutely nothing after you post. You are not replying back to comments on your content. You are not outbound engaging either. So you're not commenting on other people's content. You're not watching other people's stories and replying to them. Maybe your DMs have questions in them about your business and you just don't reply back, which is absolutely insane to me. I don't understand that at all. But it's this idea of engaging with the people that you're trying to build relationships with, which ultimately you want to convert to sales. And both doing inbound and outbound engagement are very key aspects to telling the algorithm that there's a person behind your account. It's not a bot. You're actually someone trying to connect with people. And getting people to engage with you more will help your content show more often on their feed, which is a huge piece of the algorithm that it depends on. So with those two factors, if you look at them strategically and you make changes in both of those different sectors, I guarantee you your content is going to start getting seen more often and it's going to get more engagement on it because the algorithm sees you engaging with more people and it's going to put you in front of the right audience to engage back with your content.
Oh my God, you are speaking my language in so many ways. Oh my God. I really hope some of you guys that are listening that are struggling with their social media content are taking notes because this is so good. And so, oh my God. Yes. There was so many nuggets that you just gave in there. I love, you mentioned the post and ghost. I like that. And I absolutely love your podcast name. Stop scrolling and start scaling. Can you share with us a little bit more about that?
Yes, thank you so much. Our podcast is absolutely like a labor of love. I kind of just started it. We're at almost our 1-year anniversary now. I started it just because I wanted an outlet to be able to share more long form content and to introduce our audience to experts who I love and have made such an impact on 95 Media. So our show, we produce a weekly episode and we really focus on marketing tips like what we're talking about today, how to expand your social media presence. But again, we don't just focus on social media. We really go into that holistic plan of how can you get your brand out there, get more exposure in multiple different avenues. And we should have weekly episodes going out right now. And it's been such an amazing way to connect with our audience. And if you have not started a podcast, I highly recommend it because I'm sure you've seen, Tamara, like the podcasting genuinely brings in so many more leads for you. It helps you increase your exposure as a business. And going back to the original intent of the podcast, being able to share long form content just allows people to know you really know what you're talking about so much more than an Instagram post could ever. So we talk about podcasting a lot on the show too, but we are on Apple, Spotify, Audible, all of the platforms if you want to tune in.
Yes, I love it because so many of us that are, like we stated, how we have we'll have our social media posts and then we'll post and then we'll leave, or we'll get on there and say, I'm going to do a post about this call to action or whatever it may be, but we're scrolling. We never do the post. And It's just like going like a downward spiral at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. We all get so caught up in, I did it this morning like 5 times. I go on Instagram to find one specific thing. And then a half hour later, what happened to the morning? But yeah, that was kind of the idea behind the title of the show too. Stop scrolling and actually start scaling your business when you are able to put that intentionality behind your content.
Yeah. I love it. You will be speaking at our Women in Podcasting Summit. I'm so excited to have you because you have a wealth of knowledge that so many people, I'm taking in a lot of stuff that you're saying. I'm sitting up here thinking like, after I'm done with this, I'm going to go back and listen and take notes because I could use some expertise. Some of the things that you have given for our social media pages as well. Even coming from a digital marketing background, there's so much more that you can learn. And I'm like, man, I didn't think about that. So can you share with our listeners more about the topic that you'll be sharing at the Women in Podcasting Summit?
Definitely. Yeah. I'm so excited to speak at the summit. So thank you so much for having me as a speaker. The training that I'm doing at the summit is how to leverage Instagram and TikTok as a podcaster, because I truly believe in repurposing content and being able to utilize the content, the incredible content that you're creating for your podcast, and putting it out on other platforms to drive more listeners to your show. Because you can have the best podcast in the world, but if it's only living on Apple and no one knows it exists, it's going nowhere. And so being able to utilize video content and even quotes from your show, there's so many avenues you can go down, but TikTok and Instagram can truly drive such a large audience for you who might not have otherwise known about your podcast. And I go into a lot of different tips and strategies in the training that I'm just really excited to share.
Yes, I'm excited to listen and learn for myself as well. For you guys, the tickets are absolutely free. The summit will be June 22nd through the 24th. So go ahead and go to All Women Rock Summit to get your ticket. I'll say this. What tips can you share with someone that maybe has I guess you could say, afraid to share on social media because there's so many other people sharing and they just kind of get stuck in their scrolling? Because I've met so many entrepreneurs that, I don't have any clients. Oh, this person is doing that. This person is doing this. But then you're sending me 50 different quotes on Instagram. Like, you could have been posting during that time. What tips or what can you share with them that I haven't shared that could be valuable to them?
Well, I think there's a lot of beauty in consuming other people's content, but also doing it with the lens of what are they doing and how can I do it better? Because no one's going to do it the way that you are. And a lot of people get caught up in this idea of, well, it's already been done. If I do it, it's not original and I'm just copying. And I push back on that because I don't believe that that's the truth. I think that honestly, everything's been done. There's very little that hasn't been done today, but the way you make something feel original to you is by you doing it and by putting your own spin on it. Because even if you were to do something very similar to someone else, you are not going to be able to do it the exact same way they are. And the flip side of that is if someone copies you, they won't be able to replicate you, and that you are your own like magic at the end of the day. So I encourage you, if you're consuming all this content, you're seeing other people do things that maybe you want to do and you feel intimidated, just do it and see what happens, because no one's going to reach out if you're doing nothing, but the chances exponentially increase on people reaching out and wanting to work with you if you get content up. And the other piece of that to remember is that no one is consuming the exact same content you are, and that we all have very different feeds and very different For You pages, and the algorithm is treating us all very differently. So while you might be consuming content in your niche and thinking everyone's been doing this a million times over, your consumer, you might be the only one that they're following who is an esthetician or a real estate agent or a social media manager, right? That person's feed is not filled with all the people that are in your feed. So you might be the very first person that they see do that type of content. And that again is what's going to set you apart. So that kind of was like 5 different pieces to answer your question, but they're all important.
Yes, it was very valuable because I mean, even for me at home with my kids, I'm on TikTok and I'm like, did you guys see this? And they're like, no, we don't have the same feed. And I have to remember that when I'm showing them, so I'm like, oh my God, did you see this? And it's so funny. They be like, no, we don't have the same feed. But you're right.
Exactly.
Yeah, you gave a lot of nuggets there. This is the Wealth and Wellness podcast. So I like to ask at the end, what does wealth mean to you?
Ooh, I think wealth means to me I don't want to say freedom because that's so cliche, but I think it means not having to like worry about where your next paycheck is coming from, where your next client is coming from. I think it goes back to more of like a mindset because wealth means something very different for everyone. And I don't think it necessarily is a monetary value, but it's the confidence in knowing that you are good and that you're secure in what you are doing. And the definition of wealth, I also think changes as we grow and as we become new versions of ourselves. So wealth to you, if you're looking to quit your 9 to 5 and go into, entrepreneurship full time, might look like just being able to pay your rent and to be able to support yourself. And as you grow your company, wealth might start to look like being able to hire a team and not having to worry about paying, the invoices that you're receiving from your team every month. So I think there's a lot of beauty in the definition of wealth changing. But for me, it just kind of means, not having that worry and just feeling confident in knowing that you're in the right, or I'm in the right direction and that everything is working out the way it all should be.
Yeah, I love that. For me, it means freedom and no longer trade money for time. It's someone that comes from the corporate environment. So, yep, you're right. And I always say that on each episode, wealth and wellness looks so much different for all of us.
It does.
If for our listeners that are like, I want to book a session with her, I need her to help me with my business, where can they find more out about you?
Definitely. So our website is 95media.co. All the words are spelled out. I'm most active on Instagram. So our Instagram is 90.5.media, but I do offer one-off strategy calls, which are basically a consultation. We deep dive into the strategy for your account and build out a custom game plan. If you would like to book one, you can go to strategyintensivecall.co and that will give you more information and allow you to book directly. But we also have a free course, which you might want to join if you're looking to be able to create high converting content. If you want to join us inside, it's masteryourmarketingcourse.co, and you'll learn how to create content that converts in under 30 minutes a day there.
Oh my God. I'm signing up now.
Good.
I love that. How did you come up with that name, your business name?
My business name, it's so embarrassing, honestly. I am like the worst with naming things. I will sit for like 6 months trying to name one thing. But our original business name was like my initials and it was really bad. And I was like, I know I need to rebrand. And I couldn't think of anything. So I was born in 1995. And so that's where 95 Media just came from that.
Nothing is wrong with that at all. I love that. I like the name. That's why I was like, I wonder how did she come up with that? Thank you so much, Emma, for joining us today on the Wealth and Wellness podcast.
Thank you for having me. I love it.
If you made it this far in the episode, it shows you are interested and committed. If you want more of Wealth and Wellness, tune in every Tuesday for a new episode. I would love for you to subscribe and share. Your experience on this show means a lot to me. I want to welcome you to click the link in the show notes to leave us a comment or a question. It's speakpipe.com/allwomenrock. The link is listed in the show notes. You never know, you just might be on our next episode. Be sure to follow us on all social media channels at All Women Rock Global. Until next time.